Just don't naturally think like social sciences. In fact, we have mental obstacles to thinking like social scientists that need to be removed to understand this way of studying religion. Along with Craig Martin, we'll be asking some central social scientific questions about religion as a functional part of culture and society. How are societies and the religious groups that are part of them organized? How do societies and religious people behave? And trying to give functionalist answers to the questions of why they do that. But that means we'll have to reject some kinds of explanations that masquerade as functionalist explanations. We need to unmask theological explanations, beliefs or false causal explanations, and misplaced essentialism. We'll need to look behind them for what is really going on in society. Of course, religious practices do have theological explanations, like Christian baptism has a theological explanation. It's supposed to erase original sin. But that theological explanation does not tell us the social function of baptism, which has a lot more to do with group boundary maintenance and socialization. Of course, there's a theological reason for Muslim prayer that has to do with the story about Allah and the Prophet Muhammad and all that. But that theological reason doesn't tell us about the social function, which again is a lot more about reinforcing Muslim social identity versus non-Muslims. A theological explanation isn't necessarily wrong, but it explains something different than the functionalist explanation explains. So don't confuse a theological explanation with a functionalist one. Now here's something I know is hard to believe. What religious people believe seldom explains religious people's behavior. And anyhow, it's never a functionalist explanation. This is so important that we need to repeat it. What religious people tell us and themselves that they believe seldom explains their behavior and is never a functionalist explanation in the first place. For instance, why do Christians baptize their children? When they do, since not all Christians baptize their children. Someone might say it's because they believe in original sin. But honestly, they probably don't, because lots of Christians don't believe in original sin. And those Christians baptize their children anyway, too, because they're Christians, and because baptism is what Christians do. In fact, the social function of baptism shows that the people belong to the group of Christians. To an outsider, baptism seems to be performing this important social function. Or take Muslim prayer again. Are these students praying because they believe they should? Well, they probably are, but even if they are, that prayer is part of the school day. And it's part of the school day because this is a Muslim school. And this kind of ritual prayer is one of the important markers of Muslim identity. So a social scientist will look at this scene and to see an important social function being performed, the social function of authority maintenance and of identity maintenance. The only people who were surprised by the white affluent evangelical Christian vote for Donald Trump in 2016 were journalists who acted like the religious beliefs were supposed to explain voting behavior better than demographics. Now you know better than this. Religious beliefs explain a lot less than we often think they do. So let's keep looking for the functionalist explanations. Those Trump voting evangelical Christians bring up another idea that gets in our way, and that's essentialism, the idea that there's a shared essence that explains group behavior behind the group itself. My dictionary's definition of essence as that which makes something what it is, and the distinctive quality or qualities of something. So for instance, the way an essential oil is an extract of distinctive properties of, say, lemon in concentrated form, or the way we think little girls are made of sugar and spice and everything nice, or the way we sometimes say it's in their DNA to mean that's how an organism essentially is. Is essentialism really ridiculous? Well, some things do have DNA, like kangaroos, for instance. And they really are essentially different from other things with different DNA, like pineapples. Because of that, we can say that essentialist explanations sometimes can make sense. But when realities are socially constructed, they are variable. They are technically what we call contingent, that is, dependent on the construction process. So they are, by definition, non-essential. Essentialist thinking denies the role of social construction. Essentialist thinking about kangaroos as cute or about pineapples as delicious probably doesn't matter too much to the kangaroos or the pineapples. But if we say Jewish people follow Torah because they're legalists, or we pay attention to the History Channel when it says something like the Russian people have always had a taste for autocracy, it will matter to the people and to us because those essentialist explanations will probably be wrong. Essentialism is actually deeply political. Here's an example. This is a picture of a July 12th march through Belfast by Protestants celebrating the defeat of the Catholic James II by the Protestant William of Orange at the Battle of the Boyne in 1690, which altered the course of British history. This is a picture of a volunteer with the Irish Republican Army, a Catholic military organization, which was taken in the 1970s during the height of what was then called the Troubles. Essentialist thinking constructs the differences between Catholics and Protestants in Northern Ireland as relatively stable, fixed, unchanged, and unchanging, that is, as essential, and locates them in supposedly essential differences between the religions of Catholicism and Protestantism. But there are Catholics and Protestants all over the world who don't have troubles they've had in Northern Ireland. These conflicts between the two communities are the contingent products of a long history of national and local politics, economics, and other historical events that shaped the relations of these two communities, much as this so-called peace line does, a long brick wall built at the height of the Troubles to physically separate Catholic from Protestant neighborhoods. So we need to be suspicious of essentialist explanations and instead look for how social construction has played a role in the social facts and what the social function or functions of those social facts are. And with those obstacles of theological, belief-based, and essentialist thinking out of the way, will hopefully be a bit easier for us to join the social scientists as outside observers, looking for the social functions of religion.